8 years ago, we got the news that Five Nights at Freddy's was gonna be made into a movie, and Warner Brothers owned the rights originally. Not Universal or Blumhouse, Warner Brothers of all people. Then, you know, it was in production hell for basically, I would say, in that entire 8 years that it took just to get this movie made. And let's just say, in that 8 years time, I'll get more into what I was expecting from the movie and in just a little bit, but a lot of people were looking forward to this movie, and damn it, it's been 8 years. So, how did people respond to this movie when it first released? I mean, surely the expectations are high, the reviews are in, surely everyone was looking forward to seeing their favorite animatronics on the big screen, and think that this is a good adaptation. After all, it's been 8 years. Surely it must be good. Yeah, maybe the movie wasn't just meant to be. So, obviously, I'll get more into my thoughts about the movie and what I thought of it, but let me make this very clear. I never thought that this movie was going to be made. Next to Avatar 2, I thought I would see death before I saw either of these films. But yet, when it was announced, and believe me, I was kind of curious if this was ever going to get done. So yeah, I'm not going to lie. I kept my eye on the news on whether or not this movie was ever going to get made. And ever since basically last year, where they announced that production was going to start, I'll get more into this later about why I thought the movie just ultimately didn't do it for me. But production started in February of this year and ended, I would say, roughly around the time when the teaser first released, so around May. And, I get that script rewrites are a thing, I get that the game creator, Scott Cawthon, was part of, the movie production, and that's all well and good, but something was lost in translation with this movie. I mean, it was just... I'll get more into overall my feelings, but I know the video I basically said that this is a dud. I don't think this is by any means a massive misfire or a terrible movie by any means. It's entertaining, but it is just, it's not a good movie. It is not a good movie at all. I'm like split right down the movie because there is a lot that I really dislike, and the likes that I have, they're really strong. But again, those dislikes just really overpower the film. Now, I saw this movie late last night, so as of this video, I'm publishing it obviously on Halloween. Happy Halloween, by the way. But I saw this movie, right now it's the 27th, I watched it just the other night on the 26th, and, went with a friend of mine. I thought it'd be a nice, fun movie to watch, and I thought, the only reason why I'd see this movie in theaters, because it also streamed on Peacock on the same day, is if I could if someone wants to go, and then I'm willing to go and see the movie. And just like I said, someone wanted to go see this movie, so I was like, alright, why not? Let's go watch this movie in theaters. And just to give you an idea of the screening and the expectations and how excited everyone was, I felt like I was the only... This is gonna sound really freaking rude for a minute, so I'm sorry, no judgment to any people or anything, but I felt like I was the odd man out. Like, me and the friend I went with, I felt like me and my friend were the only odd people out. We were the only odd ones in the audience. Because, everyone was excited. They were wearing, rabbit ears, bear ears. Some of them had masks on, and they all dressed like somewhat the same. They all looked the same. I'm just gonna say it. They looked like Batman. They looked like Robert Pattinson from the Batman. And yeah, that just gives you an idea of the fan base. And oh man, the screening was, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of impacted my overall feel for the movie. That's why I rewatched it on Peacock not too long ago. And it did kind of ruin the screening for me, but at least they weren't like overly obnoxious. But yeah, let me give my thoughts on the game series. I feel like, so the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, love it. I remember when it first came out and I was in 5th grade, everyone was talking about it. I didn't play it until literally the next year when I was going to middle school. And I finally got my taste of Five Nights at Freddy's. And I really liked the game. I thought it had spooky atmosphere. It was a good game. Second game, it was also a decent game. Third game, focused more on the horror. It was also a decent game. Fourth game I heard about, I kind of just strayed away from the series after that. And then from there, like the Sisters location, the VRs, even the security breach, I just instantly just distanced myself from the game series and also the fandom. Next to Taylor Swifties, this is also a fandom that absolutely scares me. Just their mindset. In fact, a lot of fandoms that really scare me. And this is another one of them that absolutely scares me because a lot of them are praising the ever-loving crap out of this movie. Like it has no flaws. And when they say it has flaws, they don't get into the specifics of what flaws they have. And then they give it such a high score. Look, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion on what they watched. But fans of this series, I feel like they're being a little too nice with this adaptation. Now, I'm not saying they need to change their opinions or anything. I'm not trying to sway them. But again, it's just a thing that I've noticed. Where I just feel like once the hype dies down, a lot of people are going to see the flaws in this movie. And it's going to be unfortunate because a lot of people really do like this movie. And if someone doesn't, they bring up the excuse, oh, well, you're not a fan of the series. It's like, that does not matter. I'm just going to say it. That does not matter. If you are making a movie exclusively for the fans, I'm sorry. That seems a little unfair. I feel like any movie should be seen by anyone. Whether that be a PG, a G, an R, a PG-13, an NC-17, an X rating. I feel like a movie, depending what it's dealing with, it should be seen by everyone. And especially a series like this, if you know nothing about the game, and you just want to watch a spooky Halloween movie, and this was coming out, and a lot of people said it was popular, you'd probably think you're in for an entertaining movie. Well, you would be, but the fandom's going like buck wild and saying like going nuts over like, YouTube cameos. Again, I'll give my overall thoughts and opinions on the movie later, but just a lot of people are not going to find that enjoyment as the fans are because they don't know a whole lot. And that's my issue that I have with most of the marketing is they are gearing this towards the fans. And I can't help but ask like, why? Like Super Mario Brothers? Okay, in Super Mario Brothers' defense, I'm just going to say it, I'd say 99% of the population knows about Mario, so it's a safe bet. But it kept things simple. It kept it to the game's strengths. It didn't convolute things. It had tons of references to the other games. And that's a treat for the game fans out there. But for an average schmo like me that played a couple of the Mario games, but, kind of stopped at Mario Kart. I know that sounds like blasphemy and a sin, but it's true. I never played any of the Nintendo Switches or, I never played any of those games. And, I still go. I still had fun with the movie. In fact, I liked the movie if you saw my video or my review of it. I really liked the Mario movie. And that's a perfect example of how to gear a movie towards the fans, but also towards everyone, a wide majority of the population. And I was hoping Five Nights at Freddy's was going to do the same thing. But when people criticize it for essentially, again, I don't see why you would go into this movie blind, knowing nothing about Five Nights at Freddy's. But again, if you're that poor schmo that just wants to watch a scary horror movie, well, You better read up on the Five Nights at Freddy's lore because, yeah, there's a lot, and they cram as much as they could in this. I've been talking for 10 minutes about random things. I haven't even gotten to the movie. So, let's just start off with what I really liked about the movie. Because again, the strongs are really high here. So, the first half of the movie, it is actually somewhat good. It delivers a cheesy, somewhat kind of spooky atmosphere that the games are known for. Oh my god. But it still keeps things, like, at least entertaining. And the movie, it's entertaining all the way through, but, you know, I'll get more into what I ultimately dislike about it, and believe me, it's a lot, but I'm going to try and condense it as best as I can. But, yeah, again, the first half delivers the goods. Like, the beginning, I would say, is really strong. And you see that, if you've seen the trailers, you see that Saw-like torture trap with the whirling blades and the Freddy mask. Like, it's a very disturbing image. I just really wish they fully delivered on, like, the gore in this. They do a couple of... There's, like, one really shocking death that's surprisingly gruesome and graphic, but that's really about it. Again, mainly kind of a negative about this film that I'll get into, but focusing on the positives, so let's focus on the positives. But yeah, first half, it does a decent job. The acting, Matthew Lillard, he does a fantastic job. For the little screen time he has, he does a good job. Josh Hutcherson, I probably can't pronounce his last name right, but I apologize for that. He does a great job, and his interaction with Abby, one of the characters in the movie, it's cute. It's believable. I like it. Yeah, the acting is good. But the biggest praise I have to give are the animatronics. The animatronics themselves look really good. Straight out of the game, even. If you've seen the advertisements, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They deliver on that. And it's awesome. Just seeing them on screen, you know, they're thumping their little feet when they're walking, and that's another big praise. They're intimidating. Now, they're not necessarily scary, but they're intimidating. And that, I feel like, is enough, but again, I'll get into the negatives. But when they are walking, you get a feeling that these things weigh a lot. You can feel the weight with every step of these, you know, beings. And it's really well done. The pizzeria, the atmosphere, as little as they touch on the horror aspect, when they do touch on horror, they do a decent job. One sequence in particular, and perhaps one of my favorite sequences in the entire movie, it happens early on, unfortunately, it is where you've seen the advertisements where they're trashing the pizzeria and then everyone just eventually gets killed off by the animatronics. That's when you fully see them in action, and that was my favorite sequence in the entire movie. If they focused more on that, it would have been a great movie, in fact. But again, I'm focusing on the positives. I keep saying that, I know. But yeah, that entire sequence, fantastic. I really liked it. The music, it's good. I know at the end they played the Five Nights at Freddy's rap. If you know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's, you know that they did like a rap by, what was it called? The Living Tombstone. Yeah, that's in here. Sorry, that song, it gets on my nerves. I never liked this song. Even as a child, I never liked that song. I knew it got a big reaction out of people in the theater, but I was just like, oh my god, this song is annoying. Like, it is just very annoying. I do not like the song. That's all I'm going to say. It's just a very grating, not well-made song. I know a bunch of Five Nights at Freddy's fans are going to come at me with pitchforks and, you know, castrate me, but honestly, I do not care. I'm just stating my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I do not care. But yeah, that's a majority of where my positives end. So let me just start off by saying, first of all, the movie is not scary. I get it. I never went into this movie expecting scary or anything, but I at least expected a spooky atmosphere. But they didn't even touch on that. Again, the first opening, like the first half hour of the movie, it starts off great. Wonderfully, even. I really liked the movie, like 45 minutes up until basically the middle. The middle is where it just officially loses me. Then it brings it back up to pace in the third act, but then it just ends like that. The third act quite literally sneaks up on you, and not in a good way. Because it just comes right out of nowhere. Just throws you into the final night, and you're just like, oh, okay, we're at the finale. And then it throws in a twist. I'm throwing in spoilers. I don't give a crap. It's the 31st. I'm pretty sure 95% the population already seen it. But you already get the twist that William Afton, or Steve Raglan, Matthew Lillard's character, is revealed to be, the villain. He's wearing Springtrap. Again, fans are going to castrate me because they're going to say it's Spring Bunny. I do not care. To me, it's Springtrap. Leave me alone. It's Springtrap. I'm calling it Springtrap. But yeah, he shows up. He has the mask on for like a hot minute, takes it off, and then, obviously the climax just ends. It quite literally just moves so freaking fast. I just wish they dedicated more time to a better climax, and because the pizzeria and also the animatronics are truly the stars of the show, they are to the sidelines throughout most of this movie. They focused on most of the human relationships, which is not a bad thing. And they tried to go the whole Jaws route with less is more. But in a franchise like this, or in a movie like this, sometimes you need to just find that successful balance between horror and human elements. And what they ultimately do is mostly focus on the humans. And it's fine, I guess, but again, it's you want to see the animatronics, and they're just barely in this movie. They probably get like 10 minutes of screen time overall in this entire movie. Let me bring up the middle, where it ultimately loses me. So, obviously, you play the games or know about the games. You think the animatronics they're clearly going to kill you. They're after you. They're on the hunt for your genitals and stuff you in a Fazbear suit and make you into essentially a meat pie. Well, guess what? They're not as intimidating in this movie. In fact, they have a dance sequence with Abby at one point. They build a fort set like to this pop music, and I leaned over at my friend and I was like, I do not like this. I don't like where this is going. And this is during an entire 3-minute sequence dedicated to them building a fort and then just quite literally laying down and staring at the ceiling like this, like they're good old pals. And I'm just like, what am I watching? It is the most bizarre thing I've seen, and it almost crosses that line into funny bad. But I'm just laughing because I'm just in disbelief that they just completely took away the mystery and the scariness of the animatronics. And then anything that happens in the third act that's even remotely intimidating with them is largely just gone. It's devoid. There's nothing that's scary about them in the third act. The nights, specifically. Yeah, the first night went pretty fast. It's on par of the course with most of these games. Well, guess what? All the nights go by really fast. You only see 3 times that pop up. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., or 6 a.m. Those are the only times you get in this entire movie, and it just meanders along from night to night to night, and it's just... Reportedly, this movie was going to be 3 hours. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I prefer the 3 hour. I would largely prefer whatever they had in that 3-hour cut, because we did not spend enough time on those nights as we should have. Vanessa, it was another character I forgot to mention, but she's, spoiler alert, William Afton's daughter, and there is a very, she wasn't, bad in the movie. I know a lot of people just had, a big reaction, oh, I know her, it's Vanessa, and I was like, who the heck is Vanessa? who is she? And I looked it up after the movie, and she's in the Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach series, and I'm like, how was I supposed to know? Everyone's freaking out. On top of that, they're freaking out at all the YouTube cameos. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. There's a YouTube cameo, not by Markiplier, and or Jacksepticeye, or any of the other ones that you would probably know. No, there is a YouTuber cameo in a diner, and everyone actually like cheered and clapped for him. And I was like, and me and my friend look over at each other like, who is this guy? I don't know who he is. Look, I know that's gonna sound rude, and but it's just like, why? Why? Even if it's a cameo of a YouTuber, why are we treating it like it's a Marvel cameo? Like it's a Stan Lee cameo? It's not a nitpick, but still just, it almost set me off. I was just like, oh my god. Like, why? But yeah, when they were cheering on for Vanessa, I was just like, okay, who the heck is Vanessa? I don't even care anymore. She shows up, she has a decent number of scenes, but every scene she shows up in, except the final act, she's always dressed as a police officer. It's honestly kind of funny. She dresses up like a police officer that you would see, like Baby's First, my kid wants to be a police officer type of costume that you would see at Party City. It's honestly kind of cute. I'm not even going to lie. Because it's just like, oh my god. They couldn't have chose the most basic cop uniform. And she's always wearing it. In every scene she's in, except in the final scene, she's always wearing that cop uniform. And there's a weird moment where, on the third night, or the fourth night, I don't even remember anymore, where Abby gets hurt somehow, and she gets mad at Mike, and then she was like, oh yeah, you bring her back, I'm gonna shoot you. I'm just like, where the hell is this coming from? You're gonna shoot Mike because he brought his daughter? He can't find a babysitter. Oh, I don't know. I'm getting too invested in this. But again, it just baffled me. Because throughout the entire movie, she's just like overly nice to Mike. In fact, half the time when she just shows up, I'm just like, what are you doing here? Again, it's explained later, because again, she's the daughter of William Afton. They're trying to obviously kill him, or keep an eye on him. But again, it's just kind of like, even if she wasn't the daughter, it's just so weird that she would just show up and just, be all nice. If I was in Mike's situation, if I saw her at the door, I would not care if she was a cop. I would quite literally just ignore it. So yeah, that's her. I got into a whole full-blown tangent there. Again, I'm nothing against my audience, but again, it was just really annoying. Because they really were hyped up for this movie, so any little thing... There was even an animatronic suit from Sister's Location that shows up, and everyone was, pointing at the screen. And majority of this film is just literally point at the screen and go like, oh, I know him, or I know her, I know that animatronic. That is quite literally the movie in a nutshell. It focuses mainly on, Easter eggs than it does on the actual plot. So yeah, they should have called this Fast Nights at Freddy's, because the movie just blasts through 4 nights like it's no one's business. And there's a weird thing with Mike going on with dream theory. This movie turns into Inception for a hot minute, where in his dreams he's trying to figure out who kidnapped Garrett, and the ghost children are showing up, and it's alright. Like, it's a somewhat spooky scene, but it's still just like, it's like, what are we doing? I came here for Five Nights at Freddy's, please. Let's devote the time and focus on Five Nights at Freddy's. And then the ending. Let me bring up the ending really quick. I know I'm extending this video. I know this video is running quite long, but I have my thoughts and opinions on this movie. Plus, it's a long-awaited adaptation. You want to hear as much as you can. Yeah, like I said, the final act just sneaks up on you, and not in a good way. The animatronics turn intimidating again. It's revealed that, William Afton's after Mike because, they kept a close eye on him, meaning, his daughter and William. They kept a close eye on him, basically to kill him. And then, Matthew Lillard shows up again, and shows up in the Springtrap costume, And yeah, they have a brief fight, they scuffle a little bit. Abby shows the animatronics because they completely forgot what happened to them, shows them, oh yeah, Springtrap, killed you. They turn on William, the cupcake comes out and attacks him, and then you get the whole infamous, spring locking scene that everyone was so excited to see on the big screen. I get it, it's PG-13, so you know what? I'm not going to judge, it's actually kind of a cool sequence. Says the line, "I always come back." Another big cheer from the audience, which it's such a cheesy line, but I looked it up. Apparently it's such a big line in the FNAF series, Five Nights at Freddy's series, that everyone, as soon as they heard that line, they just instantly went like, yes! And I was like, that is the cheesiest line he could have freaking said. Anyone could have said it. But because it was in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, we automatically went like, masterpiece! And I'm like, no. So yeah, he gets the spring locking. Ultimately the pizzeria just kind of just crumbles all of a sudden. I get that throughout the entire sequence, they're trying to shut everything down, but then the pizzeria just kind of collapses in on itself just randomly. It's kind of just whoa, where was this? And yeah, the movie just kind of ends. Vanessa's in the hospital. They're teasing that sequel, which is, they're gonna make that sequel. I mean, this movie already made back its budget. When the tickets went on sale a month ago, this movie already made back its budget when those tickets went on sale. It would be stupid if Universal didn't make a sequel, in my opinion. If they made an Exorcist trilogy than a Five Nights at Freddy's trilogy, I'd be kind of mad, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not here to get into that. Then the movie just ends. And then, you get a mid-credit scene with another YouTuber that a lot of people really like, and you get Balloon Boy showing up. And yeah, he does show up in the entire movie. Balloon Boy is just literally like a Funko Pop in this, that just shows up as a cheap jump scare. And that's really about it. And it's just, every time he shows up in that jump scare, I can't help but I'm just it ticked me off. The jump scares ticked me off. And yeah, it shows up in the mid-credit scene, and the movie just ends with that terrible music. So yeah, that's the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. A lot of stuff I really liked about it, but ultimately just a lot I really dislike. I know I called it a dud. I'm split right down the middle with this. I think it's entertaining. I'd watch it again as a fun movie to watch. That sounded repetitive, but I'd watch it again. It's a fun bad movie. This is fun bad. It could have been boring bad. I know a lot of critics said it was boring. I tend to not listen to the critics and just form my own opinion. I don't even trust, even the critics that I do trust, I don't even listen to them. I go in literally forming my own opinion. Yeah, I mean, the movie is just underwhelming, and it's just very rushed. I know it's been 8 years, and it's mainly just script things or script issues that they were dealing with, but you have to wonder, why was this rushed? They could have delayed this movie just a little bit, and it would have been fine. Yeah, the movie is just, it's something. It's something. I know I'm making this video run a little bit long, but I know a lot of people like this series, and I want to give you guys at least a more in-depth review of this. What else is there to remember about this? It's just forgettable. There's just a lot of things that just don't work in this movie's favor. It's just not overly scary. Die-hard fans aren't going to care. They're going to like this film, obviously, for obvious reasons. Jump scares. God. This movie is jump scares are the fart jokes in horror movies, because this is how you do jump scares poorly. I like to call these FU scares, because most of the jump scares quite literally consist of, just randomly clashing noises together, literally just clashing like pans together, just out of nowhere, and you jolt and go, screw you, man. It's like your friend jumping up to you and just teasing you or scaring you with no suspense build up. It's just a random, boo, I gotcha. And yeah, it's just so bad how they do handle jump scares. There's not even a good jump scare I can think of in this. And it's just generic. I know I talked about The Nun being generic, but this is another just generic horror movie. But with all that being said, with the 15 minutes that I've went on discussing this entire thing, with that being said, it's been 8 years. And the fact that we even got this movie, the movie already kind of wins in my book for actually existing. And you know what? For that, I do give them credit. It could have been much worse, a lot worse, but, this is the movie that we got, and this is the movie that we get. I'm hoping for a sequel, and they improve on the things that this movie didn't do right, and, we'll see where it goes from here. But otherwise, not off to a great start, but, we'll see where the future lies with this series. Happy Halloween, and take it easy, everyone. See ya.